Instead of trying to find the exact battery type, I decided to create an alternative power source myself. My clock had stopped at some point without me even noticing, the hands frozen in place, as if time itself had been paused. I planned to replace the battery to get it running again, but when I checked, I didn't have the correct type on hand. The batteries were either the wrong size or already drained. As for this button cell battery, many people often use aluminum foil as a temporary connector. However, this method carries certain risks. Because aluminum conducts electricity too well, it can easily cause a sudden current surge, making the battery heat up quickly. Over time, this not only shortens the battery's lifespan, but can also affect the internal circuitry of the clock, causing it to lose accuracy. But today, I'm going to share a different way to make use of a button cell battery, helping it work more reliably with this clock. I'll use a voltage meter to check it. This button cell battery is still fully charged and completely usable. I'm making use of an old laptop charger. Since it already contains the necessary components inside, I can reuse them to create a stable power source for the clock. Now I'm going to take this laptop charger apart and extract a resistor from inside because it will help limit the current, making the power supply more stable for the clock. To remove the resistor, I'll use a soldering iron to heat the two leads on the underside of the circuit board. Once the solder begins to melt, I gently pull the resistor up to detach it from the board. I apply a small amount of solder to the leads to improve heat transfer, allowing the solder to melt faster and making it easier to remove the component. While the solder is melting, I keep the soldering iron on one lead and use tweezers to gently lift the resistor. Then I quickly switch to the other lead, continue heating, and pull it out decisively. By alternating like this, the resistor can be gradually removed without damaging its leads or the circuit board. Next, I'll measure this resistor to check whether it's still working properly. And just a small note, resistance is measured in ohms, ohm symbol, not volts. It's best to use a resistor in the range of 10 to 100 ohms. This range is low enough to allow sufficient current for the clock to operate, while still providing enough resistance to limit sudden current spikes. Choosing a resistor within this range helps stabilize the power supply, reduces the risk of overheating, and ensures the clock can run more reliably over time. Now I need a battery casing extension to lengthen the contact, because this button cell is quite short and can't make good contact with the clock terminals. I'll use this syringe, but only the plastic tube part. This will help me shape and extend the battery more easily. I'll measure it to match the size of the clock's battery slot, then cut off the excess so it fits perfectly. After cutting, I'll clean up the cut edge to make it smoother and more even, so it fits more snugly and securely when installed. I'll use sandpaper to refine the cut surface, making it flat and smooth which helps it fit more easily and securely in place. Next, I'll prepare a short piece of wire to extend the battery connection. There's no need to use a thick or heavy wire. Just a small, thin one is enough, as it's easy to work with and perfectly suitable for this low power application. Now I'll apply a bit of solder to the connection points and solder it to the resistor, ensuring a firm and stable electrical connection. Now I'll solder the two pieces together to make the connection more secure and stable. This resistor is non-polarized, which means it doesn't have a positive or negative side. Unlike some other electronic components, you don't need to worry about orientation when connecting it. You can solder either end to either side of the circuit, and it will function the same way. This makes the installation process simpler and more flexible, especially for small DIY setups like this. Next, I'll reuse this rubber piece as part of the setup. It's flexible and fits well, making it useful for holding things in place. I'll then make a small hole through it, so I can pass the wire through, helping to keep the connection neat and more secure. You can use a small nail, wrap the wire around it, and push it through to make the hole, or simply use any method you find easier to create an opening for the wire. Once everything is ready, I insert the rubber piece into the plastic tube. I don't push it in too deep, just position it near the opening. This way, the wire can still extend far enough to make proper contact with the battery. Next, I'll take a negative terminal piece from a small AA battery. You can reuse old batteries that are no longer working, as they often still have usable metal contact parts inside. This helps reduce waste while still providing useful components for the setup. I'll apply a small amount of solder onto this metal piece. This helps improve conductivity and makes it easier to create a strong and stable connection when joining it with the rest of the circuit. Once that's done, I'll connect it to wire attached to the battery body, ensuring a solid and stable electrical connection for proper contact. I'll use hot glue to fix everything in place. This helps secure the connection firmly and prevents the wires and components from moving. Next, I'll attach the button cell battery into position, making sure it sits properly in the holder so the connection is stable and the contact points align correctly. I'll use a small amount of hot glue to secure the button cell in place. This helps hold the battery firmly so it doesn't shift or lose contact, ensuring a more stable and reliable connection during operation. The main function of the resistor here is to limit current, helping stabilize the electrical flow and prevent current surges that could damage the battery or affect the clock circuit. In addition, the resistor also helps smooth the input power, reducing sudden fluctuations that might interfere with the internal electronics. This is especially important because the components inside a clock are very small and sensitive. Even a slight variation in voltage or current can cause it to run inaccurately or lose correct timekeeping. So that's it. I've completed the battery module. It's now effectively functioning like an AA-style power cell for the setup. When checking the voltage, I can see that the readings are very steady and stable, with no noticeable fluctuations. This indicates that the output power is being regulated well and the circuit is operating consistently. Instead of using aluminum foil, it is much better to use a resistor to properly limit the incoming current. A resistor provides controlled resistance in the circuit, ensuring that the current does not surge suddenly when power is applied. This helps protect both the battery and the clock's internal circuitry from unnecessary stress or potential damage caused by unstable current flow. By stabilizing the electrical input, the resistor also improves overall reliability and performance of the system. It reduces the risk of overheating, prevents irregular voltage spikes, and helps the clock operate more consistently over time. Compared to aluminum foil, which conduct electricity too freely and can lead to sudden current jumps, a resistor offers a safer and more controlled solution, ultimately extending the lifespan of both the battery and the device. When I installed the rebuilt battery into the clock, the second hand immediately started moving again, ticking steadily as if time had never stopped. After being inactive for a long period, the clock finally came back to life and began operating normally. Looking more closely, the movement of the hands appears smooth and consistent, without any noticeable stuttering or interruption. This suggests that the power supply is relatively stable and sufficient for the clock to function properly. Overall, this is a temporary but effective solution that makes good use of recycled components instead of replacing everything with new parts. However, for long-term reliability, it would still be necessary to monitor its performance during actual use.